Greetings and welcome to the 30th episode of Retro Rant. For this one, we will be taking a look at Metaphobia, a point and click adventure game released in 2019 by Digital Mosaic Games. Metaphobia was developed on the brilliant adventure game studio engine, of which I am a huge fan, and it is a free download. But don't let those facts deceive you, since we have here a quality release that puts a lot of the commercial classics to shame.
My name is Richard Elmstad, and I used to call this city home. If you live here long enough, the stench of this city seeps into your skin, and you have to get out. I lived here long enough, and then some. Long enough to get to know the people at the top, the politicians who line their pockets while the city decays, the vultures who take what they want while the rest of us go hungry. I'm a painter. I don't make much off my work, but I get by. I come from a long line of politicians, but I never wanted any part of that life. I traded the mansion on the hills for the life of a starving artist the first chance I got. I never regretted it. All the city reporters used to know my name. Some of them knew me for my work. Most knew me for my father. Carl Elmstad, my father, was the leader of the beloved Cosmopolitan Party, and this past year he ran for mayor. He was running against Edward Raban, an old rival of his, and pledged to change the way City Hall did business. He was a natural leader and an honest man. He saw the city not for what it was, but for what it could be. Politics was more than a job for my father. It was his calling. He never took a vacation and always showed up at town halls, for better or worse. The people adored him. Even when he failed, they knew he was fighting for them. He was fighting to take the city back, and the vultures at the top weren't going to let him. The night it happened was nothing special. He was working from home, as he often did. That night was his last. A cold-blooded armed robber broke in and shot him. The killer stole everything he could and left my father bleeding on the floor. My father was a noble man. He deserved better. When I was a kid, my father never had time for me. When I got older, I decided I didn't have time for him. Now I'm burying him, and I wish I could go back. I wish I could talk to him one more time. I'd tell him that I admired his courage, that I loved him, and always did. This was no random crime. It was calculated, planned. I'm sure of it. After the election, my father made enemies. And that night, one of them struck back. In my bones, I know that Edward Raban is responsible for this atrocity. But I have to prove it. I don't have many friends in this city. But if there's one person who can help me at a time like this, it's Judy. I only hope she'll take my call. Hello, Patricia. I really missed you.
Hi, Dad.
How was your trip? I hope you weren't bored. It's a long way from home.
What do you think? I was just staring out the window contemplating life? It's the 21st century, Dad. I have my phone. Can we just skip the lame small talk?
Well, somebody's a bit cranky from the trip. Why don't you just relax a bit? We'll talk later.
Can't wait.
I have to find out what happened to my father. I know I haven't spoken to Judy in more than 6 years, but I need her help. I should call her as soon as possible. Sweet Tamara.
As you can deduct from the intro, This is a bleak game, and it deals with supernatural phenomena such as honest and conscientious politicians. You control an artist whose politician father has been murdered. As is the standard procedure in such adventure games, you decide to investigate the murder yourself and shed light on the death of your father. Armed with what you can gather from your studio and some ranting from your teenage daughter, as well as with the knowledge that you cannot die in this game, you embark on a dangerous quest, which will lead you to understand yourself as well. The graphics of Metaphobia are fantastic. Retro-style pixel art with beautiful locations to explore and various interesting characters with which to interact. Metaphobia is a work of quality and love, and it shows in every screen. The rotoscoped animations as well work perfectly, and you rarely will have difficulties in figuring out the important items in each location as they stand out from the background. The soundtrack of Metaphobia is also quite good, with atmospheric and jazzy tracks that enhance the immersion of the game without claiming rights to center stage. And I think that's a good thing, since even good music can get annoying if it disturbs the actual gameplay.
Come on, Patty. Really?
The voice acting is no great shakes, but it is quite decent for a free game.
I really missed you.
The developers could have gone the easy way and skipped the voice acting altogether, having only text, but they did not, and this is another proof of the love with which this game was created.
Never mind.
And the strongest part of Metaphobia is the storyline. Even though the game pays tribute to games such as Gabriel Knight and Broken Sword, I can say with confidence that these two franchises are not even a patch on Metaphobia as far as the story, the cohesion, and the characters are concerned. Especially regarding the hero, both Gabriel Knight and George Stobart are generic, two-dimensional, and repulsive. But in Metaphobia, the hero has a dark but humane past, which doesn't need to be earth-shatteringly dramatic to be interesting. This past is slowly revealed while the story unfolds and his relationships with the various NPCs deepen.
Sculpting.
The various characters are memorable and with distinct personalities and motives, and it is a joy to get to know them, unlike Broken Sword, where there is a grand mess of superficial characters and the only meaningful dynamic is Stobart hitting on Nico.
Patty, stop.
I will not spoil the story here, but it has to be said that it follows in the footsteps of Gabriel Knight and Broken Sword and again surpasses them. I loved the dark setting, the various locations, as well as the humorous touches. It is also quite a long storyline, but without dragging on, so you will get a lot of gameplay out of Metaphobia. The controls are simple and intuitive and work quite well. You right-click to examine and left-click to interact. And I am very happy that there are keyboard shortcuts and the option to skip dialogue. There is a lot of attention to detail, for example when you try items on other items, where there is usually a meaningful response in Metaphobia instead of the usual "it doesn't work" of adventure games. There is also a phone mechanic with which you can call various characters and talk to them without actually having to visit them.
You're upset with me.
The puzzles of Metaphobia are definitely on the easy side, and the game also offers some great quality of life features. You cannot die, as we mentioned already. There are no dead ends, and the game forbids you from visiting irrelevant locations, so backtracking is reduced to a bare minimum. These guys respect the player and hate these awful qualities of adventure gaming, and it shows. This doesn't mean that the game is a walk in the park, so you have to keep the grey matter alert, even though veteran adventurers will encounter no significant problems. So, would I recommend Metaphobia? Absolutely, it is a fantastic mystery adventure game of commercial quality that is designed with care and love. I would have liked more of these adventure games back in the day, but unfortunately we got shafted with the likes of Simon the Sorcerer, Sam and Max, and Broken Sword. Do yourself a favor and treat yourself to this excellent title.
I know it's been a long time, but...
So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.
And, well, it's good to see you. I missed you.
Yeah, right. If you missed me, you would have called.
Judy,